This is Barry Zalma speaking for Claim School Incorporated with another true crime of insurance fraud video. This one, number 76, entitled, Am I in Trouble? Insurance fraud, like any other profession, improves with practice. The beginner, unaware of the tools available to an insurer, makes a stupid error that will destroy him or her. Abraham MacPherson was an insurance fraud novice. He had succeeded with ease in defrauding his bank by submitting a false financial statement as part of the application for a loan. He even convinced an FBI agent checking his fraudulent loan application that he was the victim of a dishonest loan broker. Success made Abraham bold. He decided it was time to branch out into insurance fraud. MacPherson and his wife had received from family in the States and Scotland various pieces of jewelry as wedding gifts. MacPherson, a plumbing contractor in Redding, California, decided to buy a policy insuring against the loss of the jewelry and then fake a theft. To carry out his fraud and purchase a policy, he learned from a local insurance broker that he needed an appraisal from a reputable jeweler. Abraham drove his pickup truck down to Sacramento and went to a capital city jeweler named Luciferian. The jeweler charged him $50 and prepared an appraisal showing 20 items of jewelry worth $8,500. MacPherson was disappointed. The amount of the appraisal and the anticipated fraudulent claim would not generate a big enough payment to buy a new plumbing truck Abraham needed. He needed an appraisal with bigger numbers. Luciferian refused to list values greater than the market value of the jewelry. On the 2-hour drive back to Redding in his house with a view of Mount Shasta, MacPherson conceived a plan to increase the amount of the appraisal. He decided to modify Luciferian's handwritten appraisal to increase the values to the $40,000 he needed to buy a new plumbing truck. When he arrived home, he sat with the original appraisal in a fine point felt-tip pen of the same color used by jeweler Luciferian. When Luciferian described a ring valued at $520, Abraham placed a 1 between the $sign and the 5 to make the value $1,520. When the appraisal valued a bracelet at $460, he placed a 2 between the $sign and the 4 and closed the 4 to make the appraisal read $2,960. He continued with similar modifications on each of the 20 items described in the appraisal. When MacPherson completed his work on the appraisal, the total of all the individual items had changed from $8,500 to $41,960. He made a photocopy of the modified appraisal, destroyed the original, and brought the appraisal to his insurance broker. He got a personal articles floater policy of insurance from the Grand Banks Insurance Company of the Turks and Caicos Islands with ease. Grand Banks issued the policy for a premium of $1,258. Because of the distances involved, the delivery of the policy to MacPherson took 2 months. While waiting for the delivery of the policy, a general contractor obtained a judgment in the Superior Court in Redding against MacPherson Plumbing for use of inadequate and defective materials. The court ordered MacPherson to pay $36,000 to the general contractor. MacPherson had the assets to pay the judgment, but did not want to pay. He retained a local lawyer who advertised in the local newspaper in Redding that he was a bankruptcy specialist. The lawyer filed a bankruptcy petition in the U.S. Bankruptcy Court, and MacPherson's debt to the general contractor was discharged. MacPherson reaffirmed all of his other debts, including the mortgage on his house. The petition for bankruptcy, like most filed in the Bankruptcy Court, showed MacPherson to have no equity in any of his property and no money. He reported his assets as only $500 in jewelry and the tools of his plumbing trade, since they were exempt from the grasp of his creditors. What he did not tell the Bankruptcy Court was that MacPherson also owned a $150,000 twin-engine Cessna Aircraft that he used to go on hunting and ski trips. He did not tell his lawyer about the airplane because he did not want it sold for the benefit of the judgment creditor whom he felt cheated him. The day his debts were discharged, Abraham called his insurance broker. He advised the broker that his home had been burglarized. He claimed the burglars took all of the jewelry on the schedule and demanded the immediate issuance of a check for $41,960. Although Grand Turk's Insurance has its offices in the Caribbean, the hot sun had not destroyed the intelligence of their claims personnel. Grand Turk's contacted Morpheus O'Reilly Mosby, a claims adjuster and private investigator with 35 years of experience in the capital. Mosby stood 6'6" tall and tipped the scales at 340 pounds. He was an imposing sight. Mosby rolled his body out of his Mercedes slowly like ketchup leaving a new bottle and lumbered into Luciferian Jewelers. Mosby asked for and received the jeweler's carbon copy of the original appraisal. The difference between the appraisals did not surprise Mosby, who had seen almost every possible type of claim in the last 35 years. The carbon copy Luciferian gave him was totally different from the appraisal provided to the Grand Turk's Insurance Company. He used his computer to perform a statewide litigation search concerning MacPherson and discovered the existence of the bankruptcy filing and the suit by the general contractor. Mosby, knowing what is necessary to complete a thorough investigation, visited the Bankruptcy Court and obtained a certified copy of the bankruptcy petition filed by MacPherson. Armed with the copies, Mosby had the weapons he needed to make his trip to Reading worthwhile. He decided, after receiving the appraisal from Luciferian and the bankruptcy petition, that it would be in the best interest of the insurer if he took an examination under oath of MacPherson. The examination under oath will also give MacPherson the opportunity to explain that what appeared to be a fraudulent claim was honest and appropriate. Mosby set a date and time to meet with MacPherson and brought a certified shorthand reporter with him from Sacramento. He sat in MacPherson's living room and, after the reporter gave MacPherson the oath, began to question him in detail about himself, the jewelry, and the life of Abraham MacPherson. The first hour of the examination was dull and limited to background. MacPherson got comfortable and felt the insurance company had sent a giant fool to deal with him. He expected money shortly after the interview ended. But after the preliminaries ended, MacPherson got to the point. "Have you filed bankruptcy?" Mosby asked innocently. "Oh, yes, not because I was bankrupt, but because I refused to pay that crook Williams who bought the judge and got a judgment against him." "When was that?" "Oh, just a few months ago." "Were you honest to the Bankruptcy Court when you filed your petition?" "Of course," MacPherson said, as if astonished that anyone would question his honesty. "I would never lie under oath to a federal judge any more than I would lie to you here under oath." "Well, I appreciate your concern," Mosby said. "You just told me that you have owned more than $41,000 in men's and women's jewelry for 6 years, and that you owned a Cessna that was destroyed in a crash just last month, correct?" "Yes." "Explain to me, then, why you listed on your petition for bankruptcy that you only had 2 months ago $500 in jewelry." "That's because the jewelry belonged to my wife, not to me. I was the only one who filed bankruptcy." Did she own the man's diamond ring and the man's Omega watch? No, of course not. They, according to your appraisal, were worth over $3,000. How could that be and the petition to the bankruptcy court be true? Am I in trouble? Abraham asked. Not with me, Mosby said. I'm just trying to get the facts. By the way, I also noticed on the petition for bankruptcy you didn't list your airplane. Why? Well, I love my airplane. I didn't want that crook Williams to get it, so I just didn't tell the court about it. It was none of their business. So, if it is none of their business, you had no trouble swearing falsely on your bankruptcy petition. Is that true? No, it just wasn't their business. Tell me, Abraham, did you tell the truth to your insurance company when you bought the policy? Of course I did. So even though you told the bankruptcy court you only had $500 in jewelry in a sworn, under oath petition for bankruptcy, in truth, you had over $41,960 in jewelry. Yes, that's true. And the $41,960 on this appraisal you provided to your insurance company from Luciferian Jewelers is a true copy of the original, correct? Of course, that's why I'm making a claim for $41,960. Let me show you something Mr. Luciferian gave me when I visited his shop in Sacramento before coming up here to Reading. It is a copy of his carbon copy of the appraisal he did for you. Do you recognize it? No, this is different from the appraisal he gave me. Do you believe that Mr. Luciferian changed his copy so it showed the values of your jewelry was less than the amount on the appraisal he charged you $50 to prepare? I don't know, Abraham replied. I only know that the appraisal I gave my insurance company is the same appraisal I got from Luciferian. If he gave you something different, he must have made a mistake. Isn't it true, Mr. MacPherson, that you placed numbers between the $sign and the amount stated to increase the values by thousands? Of course not. I am an honest man. I never lie. The examination under oath ended shortly thereafter. MacPherson stuck to his story. He demanded immediate payment, or he would complain to the California Department of Insurance and file suit. Mosby reported to his principal, the insurer, who decided to deny the claim for fraud. Further, following the law, since MacPherson had admitted to bankruptcy fraud, the insurer instructed Mosby to pass the information he had obtained to the FBI. In addition, as required by the California law, he presented the information to the California Department of Insurance Fraud Division. Mosby was right. MacPherson was not in trouble with him. He simply would not collect on his claim. MacPherson was in serious trouble with the FBI and the U.S. Department of Justice. Mosby's report reached the same FBI agent who had classified MacPherson as a victim of the loan fraud. The special agent of the Federal Bureau of Investigation was upset that MacPherson had fooled him. After verifying the reports of Mosby's investigation, the FBI presented the information to a U.S. attorney. Prosecution followed, charging MacPherson with bankruptcy fraud and mail fraud for the presentation of a false and fraudulent claim to an insurer by use of the U.S. Postal Service and for loan fraud. He went to trial in the U.S. District Court in Sacramento on the charges of bankruptcy fraud. The trial took 5 hours to complete, and the jury was instructed at the law at 4 p.m. They deliberated for 3 days and convicted MacPherson, who was sentenced to serve 3 years in federal prison. This video And this story explains that one should never lie either to a bankruptcy court or to an insurance company. And then when you do so, you put yourself in danger of going to jail. Abraham went to jail, federal prison, where he stayed for the full 3 years and could not come back to Reading and start a new plumbing business. It was gone. He lost everything, including his airplane. This video was adapted from my book, Insurance Fraud Costs Everyone, which is an addendum to my treatise in 2 volumes, Insurance Fraud 2nd Edition, all of which are available as Kindle books and paperbacks and hardcovers from Amazon.com. If you found this video to be useful or interesting to you and viewed it on Rumble, please click the Rumble button, and if you viewed it on YouTube, please click the like button. Thank you for your attention.